So the big question is, will it all work with this out with the old and in with the new policy? It could be argued that this reshuffle is draining the cabinet of that vital commodity political experience. Well, Christopher Hope is a senior political correspondent with the Daily Telegraph. Harry Cole is contributing editor of The Spectator. Very good afternoon to you, gentlemen. Harry Cole, first of all, well, let me ask you that. Do you think too much experience is going here, or has he got the balance about right?
Well, people like William Hague, obviously, is a very, very prominent face of this government experience of the last 4 years. But if you look at when Cameron went into power, he'd never been a minister before. A lot of people around him had never been a minister before, apart from maybe Ken Clarke and William Hague. So this idea that just because the new people haven't served in government before at necessarily a higher level means they're going to be bad, I think is quite patronising. I think the balance seems about right. Hague is staying very close to the centre of the operation. He claims Michael Gove, although in numbers terms of salary, it's a demotion. He was in number 10 yesterday for most of the day, sort of planning this reshuffle. So I think the balance is probably about right. I don't think there's any real need to worry, because at the end of the day, there's only 9 months to the election. There's not exactly going to be much legislating to be done.
But that's the whole point, though, isn't it? Only 9 months to the election, Christopher Hope. But so if it's all plain sailing, then perhaps OK. But the big test, isn't it, is why you need your political experience, is if the good ship government sails very close to the rocks. The experience helps keep you off it.
That's right. You can see, I mean, you can definitely see how David Cameron has reshaped his team. You know, these kind of old, pale and male and arguably stale ministers have gone. You've got this young team who are going to take the fight for the country next May. It's definitely it's a pre-election warm-up. We've got this new team. Quite exciting for us wizened old hacks following the same people for the past 4 years. We now have a completely new team to get to know. A lot of us know them personally, and now I think few of them can believe that they are back in cabinet. I was with Priti Patel yesterday. She had no idea that she's going to be the Exchequer Secretary to the Treasury as of half an hour ago. So it is extraordinary. I think Michael Gove is being seen as a kind of demotion. I would argue slightly differently. I think making him Chief Whip allows him to build support amongst the Tory backbenches. When he's been Education Secretary leading the revolution over there, he's had little time to build any kind of support amongst the backbenches. I think it's interesting, this. I think David Cameron's being slightly clever here by raising Gove up as a possible rival to George Osborne and others. When it's time for Cameron to stand to one side. OK, and on the communication side of it all, I also read in the Prime Minister's tweet on Michael Gove, Harry Cole, there, that he's going to have more of a television role, which, of course, the previous Leader of the House didn't have at all. So he is going to be part of the new PR offensive.
Well, there was a lot of speculation back in April. We ran a story that Gove has almost reached the end of the line in education. His reforms are complete and they're being implemented. Yes, he's hated by teachers, and yes, he's hated by Labour. But that's not necessarily a bad thing when you're in an election fight. I can see a real position that Gove would be brilliant at, and he can carve open, which would be the minister for attacking Labour. He did play that role somewhat in the 2010 election before he disappeared off to be a minister. But he's very, very good on the attack. And the reason that the Labour Party are very, very weary of him is because he can land a blow. He's very quick, and I wouldn't like to be up against him in an argument. OK, well, that's him. And on the communication side, I mean, overall, Christopher Hope, does this slot look, and a lot of them have that public relations experience, indeed television experience, do they look like better communicators who can get the message across that this Conservative government, Conservative-led government, is, of course, more like the electorate it represents?
They do. I think that there is certainly a lot of frustration. I spent my morning wandering around the halls of Westminster asking people what they think of this, asking mainly men in their 40s and 50s who haven't got a job in government. And there is frustration that there's this sort of presentation, this sort of PR side of the government is now taking precedence. One said to me, where's the narrative? Another one said that if you came in, all the pre-2010 intake had been taken out and shot. Not entirely true, because don't forget the big officers of state, defence, foreign secretary, PM, chancellor, and the rest of them are still with experienced men who've been around for a while. But there's a feeling, there's a lot of discontent, I think, amongst the people who haven't got a job, as you might expect in any kind of big reshuffle, and that may manifest itself going into the election. But of course, the risks now so near an election is they can't cause trouble to avoid losing seats in marginal areas for the Conservatives. So they're slightly between a rock and a hard place, this large number of upset Conservative MPs.
And is it likely to work? What do you think, Harry? Is it likely to work, just having more women in government, in the cabinet? Is women throughout Britain going to say, oh, OK, you've got more women on your front benches, we're going to vote for you? It doesn't work like that, does it?
Look, David Cameron needs to throw the absolute kitchen sink at 2015 to get his majority. He's got to get these votes from somewhere. He's got to get not only women voting for him, but he's got to get those people who voted for UKIP in the European elections recently to vote for him. He's doubled the number of women, female representation in the cabinet or with the right to attend cabinet. It's a start, but you know, just because the box looks right, it's what's inside the box that matters. Interestingly, there is a bit of a shift, I think, not just cosmetically about the cabinet, but the political makeup of the cabinet. It's certainly shifted right. A lot of those white, male, older generation MPs were also of the left of the party. So it's important to consider the sort of the politics behind it, not necessarily just the cosmetics of it.
I mean, and on the will it work, Christopher, what do you think? Does getting the message across work? Does speaking with a slightly more normal accent and not having gone to a posh school, does that, will it appeal?
I think it will. I think it certainly will appeal more to the kind of wider population. I think women have found the kind of male sort of PR front of the government is slightly off-putting. What's telling so far, I think, is that when I last looked at my Twitter feed for David Cameron, not a single female minister for the Tories has been fired or let go, which is extraordinary. And if that carries on today, there will be a lot of hurt feelings amongst the male Tory MPs. But I do think that generally it's a good thing. You know, I think people are coming around to all women's shortlist. Ken Clarke on radio this morning said we do need all women's shortlist. I think Labour stole a march on the Tories back in the middle of last decade. I think its time is coming for all the three major parties.
OK, we shall see. Keep our eyes on that, Christopher Hope. Harry Cole, thank you both very much indeed for your thoughts.